Hi, my name is Mike Baya with Bangert. In this session, we're going to talk about how to set up and process employee reimbursement expenses directly through the payroll module for the Sage 300 construction software. A lot of times people do this directly through accounts payables, have to set up separate vendors for that, generate checks separately, but there is functionality right within inside the payroll module to handle this all at the same time. So you can provide the employees reimbursement pay at the same time when they get their payroll net pay. So we're going to go in directly into the payroll module. And I'm just going to go into the desktop, into payroll. And we'll go through setting those pay IDs up, how to link them in the employee files, and then we'll actually go through and process some time for that. So within the system, if you go into setup pays, when you're creating a new pay, you have these pay type groups. So for example, if I type in, let's say we're going to do a mobile phone allowance or reimbursement that we give to employees towards their mobile phone bill. So let's create a pay ID called phone, and we'll call it employee. Okay. And you'll notice in the pay type here, we have a bunch of different pay types, but the one you want to use for this is reimbursement. The system knows, and if you notice down here that these are grayed out now, the system knows when you select the pay type as reimbursement that it is not a taxable pay. It is not going to be part of the employee's gross pay. It's not going to be figured in tax calculations, workers' comp, any of that stuff. It's physically just using this module to provide employees expense reimbursements without affecting anything as far as taxes or gross pay goes. So the pay type reimbursement is the key. Typically, you're not going to retain the year-to-date totals. You're going to have that zero, but that depends on what type of reimbursement you want to track. You do want to fill in a printed description. This will show up on their pay stub, and we'll just call it mobile. And let's just call it phone, keep it consistent. We are going to post this expense reimbursement to the general ledger and possibly to the job cost. So you can distribute this to any of the modules that you need to. And what you want to do here, though, is you do want to make sure that there's an expense account filled in, especially if you don't plan on charging this reimbursement to a job within the system. So here we can say, and this again is going to depend on your GL structure, but in mine, I have a 4-digit number. And I'm going to go down here and find an expense account that is related to this reimbursement. And I believe down here we have a telephone expense account that we're going to use. So we want it to go to 6119. Now we're not going to charge this to a project, so we don't have to worry about filling out a job cost category. We'll talk about that in the next one that I show you. And then basically what's your calculation method for this phone? It's going to be a flat amount. It is going to vary per employee. So we're not going to fill an amount in here. If it was a standard, maybe a per diem or something like that, you could fill in the amount right here. We're going to leave that blank for now. So it's going to be a flat amount. And we're going to click Save. And then you could do some other things in here. For example, if I click List, another one that I have is a miles reimbursement. So maybe when they're traveling to projects or training, you're going to reimburse them for mileage. So you can set up one called mileage. You'll see here it's a reimbursement pay type. It's going to 6120, which is travel and entertainment. And in this case, we are linking it to a category because we are most likely going to charge this to a project each time. Let's say they're traveling to projects. So, this is going to be depending on your standard category setup. In the job cost module, we've elected to send this over to the category called O, which is going to have a job cost of sales account associated with that. So following the normal GL hierarchy for the payroll module, if there is no job, it's going to look and grab the expense account here. If there is a job, it's going to grab the expense account from the category if you're set up, depending on your hierarchy over in job cost, as other. So as far as the units, we're going to actually key in miles. So we're actually going to key in other units. So our calculation method here, we want as other units. And then we are going to reimburse at a standard per mile rate. So we're going to put in the rate here, 0.65. And you can have, formulas and things like that here as well. So we have that set up. And let's set up one more here. Let's set up a travel. So maybe when they go out of town for travel, they can submit expenses. We're going to create a reimbursement for that too. So again, I'll have a pay type of reimbursement. We'll call it travel. And I believe there is a travel one in here as well. Okay. And this one, possibly could be coded to the project. So let's fill in the category amount. Travel reimbursement is going to be flat. Again, it's going to vary each week, so we're not going to fill an amount in here. Okay, so we can click Save, and we can click Close. So you can do a couple things. The first thing is, let's finish setting up the phone reimbursement, which is going to be an automatic reimbursement, and we don't want to have to key that in each pay period, each check. So let's go into the employee setup that is eligible for this phone allowance. So I'm going to say Robert Jones gets that. And what we can do down here is over in the pay section is we can say, all right, for our phone, Robert's going to get that. And the calculation method, you can either leave it on default and it'll look at the method that we set up prior, or sometimes I recommend, even if the calculation method is the same, I like having it here so I can clearly see here its flat amount. And then I can come into here and say, all right, they're going to get, let's say, $30 a week. Or you could say, what, the whole per month, it's $100 per month. It's going to be automatically taken out. And there is a limit on it of $100. Month to date. So what it's going to do is it's only going to give them that allowance on the first check of the month. Okay, so you can set that up. The other ones we don't need set up there because there's no rates involved. If the mileage was different or if something else was different per employee, you would have it set up here as well. So let's go ahead and accept that, and we'll accept that table. And click Save. And now you're ready to go. So as far as your reimbursements go, data entry wise will be the same as if entering time in the system. You can choose to enter that information during enter time. You can import that in as well if you're doing that. And then you can also do it through enter checks. And I'm going to go ahead and do it there so we can see the whole process. So if I go into enter checks, and I'm going to pick my standard view here, and I'm going to pull up Robert Jones. And let's say period end date is, I'm just going to say 5/30. I'm not sure which week, and that's okay. So I could go through and fill in my normal time entries here. And I'm just going to keep this simple and say you did 40 hours on one job. So this is your normal time entry. But now I can do a couple things here. I can enter in some mileage. Maybe you're going to give them some mileage for this project. And there might be a travel cost code here or something like that. I'm just going to say coordination. And in this case, I'm going to pull up my list and grab miles. And we're going to come into here and you see how the rate pre-fills in. I'm going to say he drove 78 miles. So he's going to get a reimbursement of $50.70. And basically what happened here is I picked a cost code for this job that didn't have the other category yet on it. So it's trying to set that up. So we'll go ahead and accept that. And let's also say, you know what, he stayed overnight, he had some travel, he had a hotel reimbursement. We're going to cost that to the project as well. And I'm going to go and grab my travel. Oh, excuse me, travel. And that's just going to be a flat amount of $120. We turned a receipt in for that. Okay. So that's it for expense reimbursement. And then you would go through and either, process your check here or do your mass processing like you normally would do. After you enter time, you're going to go and process payroll. I'm going to show you right here. So let's go and process. And I apologize, I might get some error messages for some taxes, some old demo data here. So we're going to process per check. And you'll notice he got some accruals added, but he also got the phone added automatically. Now, one thing to notice here on the phone is it will prorate it based on the job, but that is a setting in your system. And we'll talk about that in a second. So that's going to be in your payroll settings. So mine's set up to prorate any reimbursable pay based on the job and the cost code. He worked all 40 hours at that project, so it's going to prorate the phone at $100. If, let's say, let's do 35 hours for that project, and let's go and add a different project for that employee. And I'm just going to use the same cost code because just being a little lazy here, and we'll say 5 hours. And if I reprocess, now you'll notice there's 2 phones. So that's pretty handy as well. So he's going to get a total phone reimbursement of, $100, but it got distributed to the jobs based on the hours. So you can have that prorated. And I'll show you where that's set up after this. So at that point, I would go through and accept my check and I would print my checks out. And what you'll notice here, if we go over to the check information button, so I just went down here and looked at check information, you'll notice the pay, the gross pay is going to be the $833, and that is only going to include the 40 hours at, what were we here? 1874. So if we take 40 hours times 18.74, actually, I'm sorry, there's some additional pays that were added on top of that. So there's the 749, but then there was some, you see down here, there was some vacation that got added to his pay as well. So it looks like $83, $84 also got added there. Okay, so the gross pay is going to just affect those actual pays, not the reimbursements. And then you'll notice there is $354 in other. And basically what's going to happen is the net check is going to reflect the net pay plus that reimbursement there as well. Okay, so I'll just click OK. I will accept the check. I'll finish. Just print this to file. Start. And we'll go ahead and finish this out and print that check through the system. And I'm going to use 5, 30, 15. And I'm just going to range that one check to make sure that, oh, there he is, 530. So let's go ahead and we'll print the checks out to a PDF. I'll hit start. And it's going to ask us to name the check register. And it should pop up the PDF. And we'll put that right to my download folder and we'll just call it check. And we'll let that generate. And it should pop up, but just in case, let's go and open it up here. Here it is. It's on my other screen. Let me drag it over for you. Oops. There it is. Okay, so you'll see the regular shows up over here, the other shows up over here, miles, travel, phone. Okay, and then he's going to get that in his pay right away. And that's as simple as that in the system, and that's going to charge that over to the job cost as well. So if we go and look at our printout that we did, the posting. Oh, I must have a manual post on. Oh, I didn't post yet. I'm sorry. We need to post payroll. Post checks. And let's just print that to file. I'm going to start. Actually, let's put a condition on it. There might be some other data in there. And let's go 5/30, 15. We'll just post that one. I'll call it post. And we'll let that post, and then we'll go take a look at it. That checks posting. Okay, so if we go look at the printout, file printouts, I called it posting. There's my posting. So you'll see here we have our cash, we had some union payable, we had some cost of sales labor. Okay, and then we had these cost of sales other, which is part of that reimbursement in the system. And I believe we put everything to a job. So yeah, so that's why you don't see anything going to the 6,000 accounts. But if we didn't have that prorate on for mobile phone, it would go to the 6,000 here. So, that's all set up in the system. I believe the mobile, we left off the category. So it actually put it into labor, which we don't really want that. But anyways, so you can kind of see here, there's our job costing and there's our journal entries. So you can accomplish that all in one step in the system. And I wanted to show you on that phone how it prorated it by job. That's because of the company settings here in payroll. So if you go to PR settings, you can see here you have these prorate options as to how you want that to prorate. So if you want to turn that off, you can uncheck that there and it won't prorate that. Or you can just zero it out when you do that. And that's as simple as that. It'll be a lot easier to do directly through payroll instead of actually having to go into accounts payable, create invoices, create vendors for those employees and process it that way. You could do it right within payroll. And, then if you have direct deposit set up, if you have all that stuff ready to go for payroll, the employee's getting his money all in the same check, and you don't have to have two processes for that. So as always, thank you for watching, and any comments or questions, put them in below, like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.